Well, we got the full crew together for this week. Matt's back in North Carolina after a little vacation. Jared's in Detroit. I'm actually on the road in the Washington, D.C. area, but we got lots of stuff to talk about, including catching up with what's been going on in our catch-up segment brought to you by Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. Unlock your dream home. Pre-approval starts right here. SuccessGroupMortgage.com for details. Matt, it just always... I just get amused, and I really enjoy seeing your postings, and especially you go all out with the attire when you go on these Disney trips, man. I love it. You know, the Mickey hats, the high socks with the emblems on it. You do it up right, man. You're making memories for the family, which I can really appreciate.
Yeah, and obviously part of it is memories for my wife and I too, because some people say like our son is only 2, so obviously he's not necessarily going to remember all this stuff except for all the pictures and videos, but we're also making memories for ourselves. And our daughter obviously loves everything. But yeah, I guess you can say we've kind of become a Disney family. We talked about it on the pod quite a bit. We enjoy going to the parks. Obviously my work perks do help. This was a bit different of a trip. I mentioned it, I think on a previous podcast that, yeah, we just went on a Disney cruise. So my wife and I, neither of us have ever been on a cruise. Jared, you said you haven't. Ted, have you ever done a cruise?
Never done a cruise yet. No.
Okay. And, so my wife and I, we were kind of saying, I feel like a cruise is like something at some point everyone needs to give it a shot and just see like what all the hype is about, see if you're a cruise person or not. Because we're Disney people, we were like, let's just go big. Let's do a Disney cruise and we'll find out. We're either going to love it or we're going to be like, cool. Not really our thing. We've already got one tentatively booked. So the deal is when you're on a cruise, if you book another one, you got 2 years to like solidify it, but you get 10% off. So it's almost, and it's a non-refundable deposit. So it's almost like just go ahead and put the deposit down, get the discount. You can always get it back if you don't book. So anyway, it was a blast. I mean, we were kind of talking a little bit before we started recording that most vacations are a good escape from the real world. But sometimes maybe you don't really get away because maybe you're still checking your email or, whatever. We went to the Bahamas. We were out in the ocean. This was a legit, I'm away from work. I'm away from the real world. Money isn't even like a thing. You're just getting food. You're eating whatever. Mickey's walking around the boat. You're swimming. You're going down water slides. You're at Disney has their own private island called Castaway Cay. You're there just
okay, the real quick at the Castaway Cay, because I remember you saying that a couple weeks ago that there's a Disney-owned island. What does that entail? That just seems crazy to me. That Disney, is it just a giant park that's almost like a Mackinac Island type setup, or what does it look like there?
So you should, and I'm being honest because it's very interesting. The history of it is super interesting. I can give you the cliff notes. So they have like a 99-year lease on an island in the Bahamas. So I guess technically they don't own it. Basically they do. So it was an island that was run by the drug cartel, like back in the 20s, 30s, 40s or something like that. And it got out of control. Like and it's still there. There's a landing strip on it that is kind of part of the resort. That is out where the drugs came in and out of or whatever. And I think like the government, it just got out of control. Walt Disney went in and said, hey, why don't we put down a big old lease on this? We'll turn it into Castaway Cay, a Disney park. It's not really a park because it's a beach, right. But a Disney resort. And that's what it is. I would assume at some point Disney's either going to keep the lease going or buy it. But if they don't, whoever takes it over has a full on, basically huge sandals type of resort ready to go on the island. But yeah, I mean, there's water slides, there's shops, there's like a whole game park. I got in on a free throw contest. There's Connect 4. There's a splash pad for the kids. You can rent bikes and ride around the whole island on the bikes. Scooters. I mean, it's literally, and you don't even have to get off the boat when it parks. If you want to stay on the ship, you can. But to us, we were like, no, we have to get off. This is Disney's private island. We have to get off. So yeah, and it was a beautiful day. We didn't see a drop of rain the whole time. It was pretty hot, obviously, but no, I mean, it was definitely
comes up when I Google it. It's like a Jack Sparrow pirate ship. Like, it looks awesome.
Yeah, the ship. What's from Pirates of the Caribbean? What's the?
I should know it.
I'm blanking on the
Black
name of the
Pearl?
ship.
It's not hold on, Jack Sparrow's.
Yeah, it's the Black Pearl, right?
I think it is.
Yeah, the Black Pearl.
Yeah,
like
the Black Pearl. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the model from the movies, it used to be parked right there in the water, but I guess it started to deteriorate a little bit, so they took that out.
Yeah.
But Jack Sparrow is still there. We saw him, and all the Mickey characters come out and stuff. So I mean, again, we're obviously Disney people, so we love it. But it really is, Disney does everything top notch. There's a price tag, obviously, but they do everything top notch. The customer service is incredible. The food was amazing. Everything is themed. Like there was a whole Frozen part, there was a Marvel part, there's a whole Star Wars part. All the princesses, all the food is authentic to like wherever you're at. So when we were at the Frozen park, it's like we were eating food, in Norway,
Right.
Norwegian food. Spider-Man came up on us when we were at the Marvel restaurant, and there's a whole separate movies that they made for the ship. Broadway musicals, we saw Aladdin, we saw Little Mermaid Broadway shows while we were on the ship. I mean, it really, it's incredible, and it really would be one of those things, like, you don't have to be a Disney like geek or whatever. You would enjoy it regardless.
When did you what was your very first Disney trip, and did you think going into it, man, this is gonna be awesome, like, or was it just like, I'm gonna go, I have this like coupon off, I'm going, right, and it's a one-time thing? Do you remember that?
Yeah, so we didn't go as kids, obviously. We didn't go growing up, family of 6. We weren't about to go down to Disney. We'd go to Cedar Point and do some stuff like that, of course, but we didn't go to Disney as kids. The first time I went was when I was at ESPN, and I went out to LA actually to Disneyland with some friends, and it was just a trip out there. Hey, let's check this out. I didn't go like this until I, was with kids and family and stuff like that, and I guess fell in love with everything Disney or whatever. Yeah. But it's yeah, I think we set the bar very high as far as cruising by this being our first cruise. But I could say nothing negative about the whole trip. If anyone out there is thinking about doing a Disney cruise and you're looking into it, 5 stars out of 5 stars, top notch, everything. You will get everything you want and expect out of a Disney cruise if you're looking for that sort of thing.
The only question I would have is, and it's the same negativity I would have with going to Disney, and it's waiting in line. Now, did you have any issues with, lines for getting food or whatever? Did you have to deal with anything special there?
Nothing long. Like, so when they would have the characters out for you to meet and take a picture with, there would be little lines for that, but nothing like a Disney park, nothing like that.
Right.
Waiting 3 hours for a ride or whatever. They try to keep the lines moving and short. So no, nothing like that. And, it's kind of one of those things, like if there's too long of a line, there's a million other things to do. So we would just move on. But no, it was great. It was a great get away from the real world type of thing, recharge. Obviously goes too fast like vacations always do, and then we're back to the real world. But no, it was awesome.
Disney is interesting like that. I had a boss probably when it's like my first job out of high school, but second job out of high school, and she was like the type of boss where she'd be there from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. like working every day. But her 2 vacations every year were to Disney in Florida. And it was like, that was like what she basically worked for all year till that vacation, accrued like 1 billion paid time off days that she'll never ever use. But Disney was her escape. That was what she did. I haven't been back since I was like 5, but from what I remember, man, it was awesome. And every time it's like Groundhog's Day. Every time you come back from one of these vacations, I'm like, man, I got to do that because it actually does sound pretty freaking fun. So,
yeah, and you can do it right too. Matt knows the ins and outs, so he can give us tips on the best way to attend Disney, right, Matt?
That's for sure.
Well, I will say this: I mean, you and Kelly have had a well-deserved vacation there, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Your kids had to be ecstatic, I mean, especially your daughter. She's at prime age to really enjoy it.
Oh, I think she just thinks, we've said before, we're kind of spoiling her a little bit because she thinks like these things are just normal. Like, oh, when are we going on another cruise? It's like, well, let's pump the brakes there a little bit. But no, I mean, she was at the kids club having a blast, making friends. So yeah, I mean that's one thing about Disney. You get to relive it through the eyes of your children or grandkids or whatever. So that's fun.
I guess one last question on the cruise. I've seen videos where a guy gets dared to jump off this cruise ship and he just jumps off and the cruise ship doesn't turn around, doesn't stop. Basically, the second you're off that boat, you're dead. Were you ever like, man, I could basically fall to my death right now? How hard would it be to have that happen?
I mean, honestly, not very hard. Not as hard as I thought. So we had a room with a veranda, so with a balcony looking over the ocean. And, they have, I guess the fence, whatever you want to call it, the barricade. Yeah, it's glass, so like our toddler couldn't just run out there and fall through. Right. But I mean, it was only up to, my waist, maybe a little above my belly button. So like, if you tripped or if you got fallen, you could. It's not like easy to fall over. I definitely looked over a few times and started thinking like, I can't imagine jumping off this thing and thinking that's a good idea. What are you doing?
What time do they give you a warning? Like if you fall off the boat, like there's no promises we're gonna be able to get you. Like, and is that true? Like I don't know if that's just a video that ends on Twitter that I saw when they do end up turning around, but it really did seem like he was just getting left behind.
I think I've seen the video that you're talking about. They were like kind of in the port. So I feel like I saw someone say they thought that the boat was about to park. So the kid was just going to swim up to where the boat's parking or something like that. No, we were out there in the middle of the ocean. So there's no chance I'm about to jump off and test my swimming skills there. But
well, Jared and I muddled through last week. We did miss you.
Yeah.
I did notice something that I don't usually notice when it's the three of us, but when I re-listened to it, I don't know why, but I used the word fascinating about 10 times.
Maybe Matt normally cleans you up, and then I didn't clean you up in that. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know if I've caught the word fascinating. Yeah. I'm sure we all kind of have our catchphrases or whatever. But
that's his catchphrase. Now that you say it, it's fascinating. that's usually how it's used.
I was gonna say now I'm gonna notice you saying it every other sentence and be like, there it is again.
Well, I'm gonna quit using it. That's why I brought it up. By the way, just catching up too. I'm out in DC, like I mentioned, out for my youngest granddaughter's baptism. It went off without a hitch. She got baptized in a church over at Georgetown. We had a really nice brunch afterwards. One of the best brunches I've ever had in my life, and it was right on the waterfront at Georgetown. Jared's brother can relate to that. Johnny and his fiance Lauren enjoyed the Georgetown waterfront, and it's just a great place to come. If we get out here once every quarter, it's just a nice break from mid-Michigan. So we really enjoyed it.
What's the weather? I'm trying to think. I mean, it's still nice and hot out there right now, right? Similar to Michigan a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of hot and sticky. It kind of rained a little bit today, but other than that, it's pretty normal DC weather. Usually this time of year, you're in the 90s and it's pretty high humidity, but tolerable. And we head home tomorrow. I should tell everybody out there too, by the way, this is episode 324 of the 3 Point Podcast presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. For those unexpected moments when injuries strike, make sure you visit the Orthopedic Walk-In Clinic Monday through Fridays, 8 to noon. No appointment needed. If you're not a member yet, sign up for a 1-month membership. Give it a try. That's the Wellness Center in Owasso. Also, our starting lineup of partners include ALS of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Detroit Jerky, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and the Shiawassee County Fair. Speaking of the fair, the Shiawassee County Fair, much more than a week of fun in early August. Upcoming events include horse and dog shows, craft shows, trunk or treat coming up. October's right around the corner. Follow the Shiawassee County Fair on their first Facebook page, 127 beautiful rolling acres on Hibbard Road in Corunna, the fairgrounds, a state licensed campground rather, with all the amenities. Makes your stay a memorable one. That's the Shiawassee County Fair. Friends, family, and fun since 1850. Well, we'll get to the meat and potatoes of the podcast right after these. All right, guys. One of the benefits of being on the road, I got a chance to watch the national broadcast on ESPN of Sunday night baseball. It was the Tigers and Yankees. Great matchup coming to everybody from Williamsport. Nice field there, and Tigers pulled it out in extra innings. Parker Meadows with a game-winning hit. Skubal again looked outstanding, and Big win by the Tigers. I think still their season's done, but they're playing respectable baseball. And, I always am the guy kind of with the glass half full. I look at some of the young talent they have, some of the players they brought up. It looks like, potentially they're putting the pieces together the right way. And within the next couple of years, I think this is a team that will definitely be a contender, for the playoffs for sure. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's always about are the young players going to develop into all-stars? Riley Green has done that. So, okay, check mark there. You kind of know he's going to be a good player, barring any serious injuries or anything like that. But Riley Green, cool. The rest of them, right, when they talked to AJ Hinch during the broadcast, he kind of alluded to the same thing, that it was basically time to bring the young kids up. I mean, the season's not over, but right, like you said, it's a long shot for them to make the playoffs this year. So bring them up, bring up all the kids, let them start getting reps, let Young play, let Keith play, let Austin Meadows play, let all these, bring Torkelson back up and see if the stint at AAA helped anything and see what you got. And yeah, they're playing, and young guys are always going to play exciting baseball. They're going to fly around, they're going to steal bases, they're going to dive for balls and all that kind of thing. But Skubal obviously is an ace. We'll see what they do with his contract, but there are pieces there. At some point, they're going to have to spend some real money and get like a veteran bat, not Javi Baez. At some point with these young players, they're going to have to get some veterans to go with Skubal, to go with the other guys. But there's something there.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. You're right. You guys are giving up already on this, and I think that is. I mean, what are the chances they make playoffs? Maybe 10% at best.
Too many teams to pass.
For me, until football season starts, let's ride it. They're in the playoff chase. They're not totally dead yet. The only team that's mathematically been totally eliminated is the White Sox,
right?
Which just happened 2 games ago. So they're still alive. I'm having a fun time watching this crew now that they're back, pretty much 100% fully healthy. Riley Green's back. It was cool seeing those guys in that environment. One, what an awesome game that was put on by ESPN. I mean, the environment was awesome. Music, which you guys know how I feel about the music. I hate it at games. The natural audio on those back cracks. It was like they injected lightning every time a bat was swung on the ball. I don't know, it sounded awesome. I don't know how they did that. You have the kids in the crowd yelling from 10 feet away. You hear everything they're saying. At one point I think it was in the 9th inning, when Javi Baez still hadn't checked in and played. And Javi Baez, whatever you want to say about him, he's still like a hero to Puerto Rico, which is where he's from. So all of a sudden you hear the Puerto Rico kids all chanting his name, Javi Baez, trying to get AJ Hinch to get him in. And I honestly did think AJ Hinch was going to deploy him as a pinch hitter in that 9th or 10th inning, but he didn't need him. AJ Hinch, people sometimes will question his managing. I get it. Sometimes maybe it's a little over managing, but perfectly nailed the last 2 innings of that game to get that dub. Now it's just, let's see what this team can do the rest of the way. I saw he announced after the game, maybe they're not going to start Taylor Skubal every single start the rest of the way. Maybe he's going to get a little bit more extended rest. I'm okay with that. In my opinion, on national TV, he just locked up the Cy Young. First one for the Tigers in a long, long time. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to be excited about. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to forget about this team as soon as football comes around. But we hope, we pray for the next couple years. I think we got a playoff appearance on the line. And one thing I will say about one specific guy, Jace Jung. I love this guy. Yeah. He's got the chest hair popping. He's got the dog tags. He's got an iconic swing already. It's one of the cooler swings I've seen, where the bat's at like a 45-degree angle before he swings. And what impressed me most is his first at professional league at bat was like an 8 or 9 pitch at bat against Garrett Cole against the Yankees at home. First game, a lot of nerves, energy, and he took like an 8 or 9 pitch at bat and ended up walking. And Scott Harris said that showed him a lot about this guy's plate discipline and how he kind of handles his business. So I'm excited. Call me crazy. I'm excited about this Tigers squad for now.
Yeah. Well, I do think wild card's probably out of the question, but they're only 3 games behind 500 right now. We're recording this on Monday night. I think if they could somehow finish 4 or 5 games over 500, it's a successful season. Playoffs or no playoffs.
Especially with the young kids coming up. I mean, I think Torkelson is still a big part because he was such a big draft pick. I mean, we're starting to teeter on. I don't know if it's going to work out, but he was such a high draft pick, and he was supposed to be Miguel Cabrera, hands it off to him and just keeps things going. And it just hasn't worked out, but
it's all mental.
It sure seems like it.
He hit 30 home runs last year, you know?
Right. 30 home runs. And he was obviously a stud in college. So the tools are there. You know, you hear about 5-tool player all the time in baseball. He is that. So he's just got to get over those yips, I guess. But no, it's all there. So right at some point, you know, if they can, like you said, Jared, finish the season high, play well, show these young kids look good, maybe extend Scooble for long term, then maybe some, you know, back like when they brought in Pudge, when they brought in Maglio, when they signed Carlos Guillen, some of these veteran players will want to come here and play because you have AJ Hinch as a manager. The Tigers fans are, no matter what people say, Tigers fans are the best around. When there's a winning team on the field, Comerica is full all the time. People will want to come play for the Tigers if Young, Keith, Riley Green, Austin Meadows, all these dudes kind of actually start turning into good players. People are going to want to come play there. So,
amen.
There's big things to play for.
Future product looks pretty darn good, and it was very cool seeing that atmosphere in Williamsport, you know. And I got the TV on here in the hotel right now on the Little League World Series, another great event, kind of winds down the summer of baseball for us as we get ready for football. You know, and speaking of football, I mean, the Lions had a big game against the Chiefs. Big game, I say, if you can call an exhibition game a big game. But one thing that was impressive, I'm still on the fence as far as the future of Hendon Hooker, but he looked pretty good, you know, against the backups, 12 of 15, 150 yards, kind of got him in position for that game-winning field goal by Jake Bates, you know, 43-yarder. And I don't know. We'll see what happens, but at least it was a good performance coming off a shaky week 1.
So he still hasn't earned the coveted backup quarterback job in your mind, which is one of the hardest barometers or highest barometers to hit. So he still isn't there yet. Still not there yet. Got to see a couple more season games, and we'll think about it.
Getting the Ted Fattel stamp of approval for backup quarterback for the Lions is like getting a 3 for 3 on Tedertainment Tonight. Yeah. I mean, that's just that's a big deal right there. But no, you're right. I mean, it is a big deal to have a good backup quarterback because you never know when your starter is going to go down, and you don't want to have a lost season if it happens. And we've said it basically since we started the podcast. Lions haven't had like a legit backup quarterback, I don't know, in quite a long time. Hendon Hooker.
I think Bridgewater was legit, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously past his prime, but right, he was a good signing last year. If he would have had to come in, he could have kept things going. So yes, that's sure last year Teddy Bridgewater, that was a good dude to have. But Hooker, I mean, he played a ton of college football. He's basically, I think he's like 27 already. So, you know, he's in theory, you know, he's in his prime. He's a veteran. He has a ton of talent. So he's proving. I think that's like one thing coming out of this preseason to me for the Lions so far. Hendon Hooker, like he looks like he's a solid backup. So he's not stealing Jared Goff's time by any means, but you know, he looks like he's a solid backup. Is Bates going to be the kicker? You know, I guess I don't know. Still some question marks there, but.
We've talked about it. I did watch the highlights of the preseason game. I had Hooker, agree with everything you guys said. He's already a good quarterback in my opinion. I think it was smart drafting him, stashing him. I think he is going to be able to make plays whenever he is called upon. Hopefully not for years to come. Just the preseason, it's tough to watch. It's the most depressing stage of the calendar, which is weird to say because you know football. It's actual football. You're watching football, but you'd almost rather there not be football. It's the weirdest tease. I mean, you got like even a fun game like Kansas City Chiefs or Detroit Lions. The Lions didn't even play their starters really to match with the Kansas City Chiefs starters. So even sometimes when you get fun matchups like that, it doesn't even really pay out how you want to see it. But you got to take what you can from them because we're just dying for some football right now. So in that sense, it's nice to see their kicking situation get figured out. And as we talked about, the backup quarterback situation get figured out.
Yeah, and one of the highlights of that game was, I mean, it was on SportsCenter, of course, and the behind-the-back pass by Mahomes. That was pretty sweet.
Right.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet, but that's what kind of makes you not take the preseason very seriously. I mean, he might be one to try and pull that off in the regular season, but you wonder, preseason here, I'm going to throw behind the back pass. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, we're all just ready. We're ready for the real games. It is cool if there's a specific player you want to watch, maybe a Michigan player or something like that you want to see. But no, sometimes it is tough to turn on preseason. But it stinks when you hear the news of, speaking of Michigan players, when you hear the news of JJ McCarthy needing knee surgery. And I guess there was a chance he could have taken like one surgery and just been out like 6 weeks and tried to come back, or do the full surgery, I guess, be out a full year, come back next season. Probably a smart move to just do this, kind of sit out the year and come back. It sucks because his first preseason game, he looked pretty good. So he might've been the starter there in Minnesota at some point. So, but I mean, like Jim Harbaugh said it after I saw someone ask him, and he was like, no, this is just a bump in the road for JJ. He'll be back. That's maybe a little bit of a disappointing thing as a Michigan fan, but otherwise.
Remember when I said like 2-3 weeks ago, like, man, I'm hearing he's been terrible in camp. That was fake news. He looked incredible in his first preseason game. So as a Lions fan, I'm almost happy because, I mean, we're happy. Like, let them roll with Darnold. I think we all said it. It's like the plan on paper is to have Darnold be the starting quarterback. I think everybody knew that was maybe a 3-4 week situation before JJ probably would be given the keys and take them probably to a whole nother level from what we've seen so far. But I think the Vikings are okay with that happening. I mean, I think they wanted to almost avoid that situation happening where JJ was going to be basically pressured to start by the media and by fans. So I think they're okay with it. Like, yeah, take the longer surgery. We'll be fine this year, and maybe we'll have another top pick next year, pair you up with another stud wide receiver, or protect you with a great offensive lineman like Joe Alt and the Chargers did this past year. So I think the Vikings are almost taking it as a win, taking it as a silver linings win, the fact that they're not going to have to deal with that this year.
Yeah. Because even with the surgery, he can sit there on the sidelines and learn. I mean, he can sit there and pick things up. He'll keep studying. He can learn the NFL game while he's rehabbing. So probably not a bad deal.
I wonder what the mindset was, though, if he could have had the minor surgery you mentioned and be out only 6 weeks. I guess they're looking at the long-term picture, and just saying, why mess around with it?
Probably.
Yeah. I don't think they're not a Super Bowl contending team, even if he's great this year. So I think they're all about building for the future.
Right.
And if you can have another down year and have him sit and learn for an entire season and come back, 100% next year, I think they're okay with that. One quick kind of side tangent, sort of college football, sort of NFL. So Connor Stallions, I mean, my God, the story that never ends. He's the newest defensive coordinator at the high school here in Detroit Mumford. Listen, the easy thing to be would be say, why is this jackass coaching and molding men? I'm going to go the other way. So let's look at this guy's resume. On paper, truly what a great qualified resume. He truly has a qualified candidate. Graduated from a service academy. Worked on a Michigan staff during championship years under head coach Jim Harbaugh. Great player relationships. I mean, literally had his own business with Blake Corum. So
allegedly.
So the way I look at this is there probably was nobody else that applied to this job. And if you could slate this guy in, clearly he cares. I mean, he's probably gonna have a whole chapter in his Michigan manifesto called the Mumford Manifesto to help get him through this tough time. But in somewhat semi-seriousness, why not give this guy a shot at a defensive coordinator job? Let's see what he can do. I know I'm going to be paying attention to their scores every Friday night this fall and seeing how their defense stacks up. So I don't know what to make of it. What did you guys make of Connor Stallions returning to the sidelines, this time without binoculars, and on the high school side?
Or maybe still with binoculars. Who knows? I saw a clip from that Untold, the documentary that's coming up. And it does actually sound like the dude is like kind of a genius. The clip was talking about how he like studied every signal he saw. He put them all basically in a document so he could study each signal and know every signal possible that he's ever seen on a football field. And he's obviously probably a pretty smart guy in general. So he probably is a really smart football mind and knows the game really well. If he relates, with the players, So he probably had some sort of future in football coaching anyway. It's just, geez, he got involved with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh during a national championship run. So that kind of set the bar pretty high. And, the rest of the story is history at this point. So, yeah, at some point he was going to land somewhere, some low-level D3 college, but why not start in Detroit at a high school and work your way up from there? I think it's a pretty cool story. I mean, yeah, if his defenses start giving up 30 a game, it's going to be kind of funny. But if all of a sudden they're only giving up 6 points a game, it's going to be like, this guy might be a genius.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing on our 3-Point Podcast Prep Pigskin Preview in our Detroit area discussion, Mumford might make it for the first time.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big story. I don't know how you ignore it.
Right.
I mean, in all seriousness, I get wanting to win football games. I mean, literally, but again, we know how this high school stuff goes. This guy probably was the only applicant that even applied to this job. So I guess better him than nobody. And these kids are babysitted by him. It's just funny to imagine. I mean, you guys have had kids. Your kids getting molded by Connor Stallions. Just an interesting. I don't know the guy. I don't know enough to necessarily make an opinion, but just an interesting thought to think about.
Yeah. Well, what he did obviously was not per NCAA rules, but it certainly wasn't the end of the world. It's not like I wouldn't let my kid play football for him. I mean, like Matt was saying, he's a smart guy. He's been in the military. He's just got a little too clever, and got caught.
Right.
That's all it boils down to. It's funny too, Matt. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to last week's show with just us two knuckleheads, but we were waxing poetic about Jim Harbaugh coming back as honorary captain. We were all over the story. And I think it was the next day it was, oh, by the way, he's not coming back, which was kind of a bummer.
I know. Why did that get announced? I don't understand. Why did that get announced? And then that whole timeline made no sense to me.
I know.
I'd be curious who really made the call that it probably shouldn't happen, because I would have been right with you guys. This is the biggest middle finger to the NCAA. Here's our national title coach who you guys just can't leave alone, and he's going to come back as honorary captain. It would have been awesome. I wonder if because Jim Harbaugh said, like, he gave a Jim Harbaugh quote. He said, "No, I decided to stay in the foxhole with my guys here in LA. And stick with the Chargers or whatever." So, okay, cool. I wonder if him and Moore kind of actually came together and were like, you know what? I don't want to be a distraction, to your guys' game.
Seriously.
Right. I'd be curious who actually like made a call. Like, you know what? This probably actually isn't the best idea, but it would have been cool. It would have been cool.
Also, if you're Sherrone Moore and like, listen, I'd be for it. Why not? Like, crowd would have been nuts. The timing, you can't beat it. But also, it's like, man, this is Sherrone Moore's like very first game, and we're still gonna just cloud it with Jim Harbaugh coming back. It's like, but again, what the hell's going on? Like, figure this out before you announce it, and then backtrack it. It didn't seem like there was a ton of negative commentary around it that would have made them second guess it. So that's what just makes you think they didn't have their ducks in a row. Maybe they never even asked like Harbaugh. It almost seems like so. I don't know. It was weird.
I think they compromised some sort, didn't they? Isn't his dad and mom coming to be honorary captains? I think.
I thought I saw something like that. So, no, either way, it'll be cool to see national championship. I saw pictures of they've got a big old sign outside the big house. 2023 national champions up.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Sherrone Moore actually trotting out there as the head coach. It'll be interesting to see what Michigan football looks like. I mean, we know the defense is going to be legit, one of the top in the country. What's the offense going to be? You can't just hand it off to Donovan Edwards every play. So they got to figure something else out. It almost feels like one of those teams, like, just stay in the games and kind of let the defense do their thing, and whoever ends up being quarterback, whether it's Tuttle, whether it's Orgy, whoever, just don't lose the game. Just let the defense handle things, put up points when you need to. Hopefully Donovan Edwards as the number one running back, kind of takes off, and we'll see.
Yep. Well, right around the corner, and like I mentioned, our next podcast will be the Prep Spotlight, or the Prep Pigskin Preview, right?
Pigskin Preview, yep. High school football next week, so
Hard to believe. Hard to believe. Before we wrap the sports section up, fellas, here, I don't know if you had a chance to watch any more of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. I watched some of the game on Sunday. She still amazes me. I mean, she's turned that team around. I think maybe the break from the Olympics that we talked about definitely has paid off, but she's now the WNBA record holder for assist by a rookie, and she's going to get nothing but better. I mean, she just looks so comfortable out there nowadays, and that whole WNBA product has risen immensely, with Reese and her and some of the other players that already have been established in that league. It's a fun league to watch.
It is. The games are fun, and she's turning a really bad Indiana Fever team into a playoff team. I mean, almost single-handedly. They have Aaliyah Boston, who was the Rookie of the Year, previously, but I mean, it's pretty impressive how quickly she picked up the professional game, and she's out there dominating. It almost makes it. I mean, the women's team went on and won gold in Paris pretty easily. I mean, the gold medal game was pretty close, but they still won gold. But seeing how Caitlin Clark is playing now in the WNBA, it almost looks even more goofy that she wasn't on the Olympic team. But whatever, that's a whole. It was an old story now, but
the week, the month off was a blessing in disguise. It really was. Yeah. She's come back with a vengeance. She finally got some rest after basically a calendar year of playing basketball nonstop. So good for her. She is dynamic, and I said it after the Olympics ended. Maybe it was us talking last week. By the end of the Olympics, she would have clearly kind of risen to the top. I truly believe. I mean, if you were watching that game against France in the gold medal game, they struggled with guard play. That was their weakness on that squad. And you just, like, in my opinion, my eyes tell me she is the best guard in the entire league, over Kelsey Plum, over Onesco.
I think so.
I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot. That's what I see. And so, but that's just the way I think it is. So it's exciting to see. I'm with you. And I'll be honest, I found myself looking to find out when she played her next game so I could watch. That was just earlier this morning I did that. Thursday, by the way.
Turning the 3-point podcast into WNBA fans. Caitlin Clark.
How about that? Hard to believe. Hard to believe. Well, I'll tell you, do anything else in sports you guys want to get into?
I don't know. I mean, it's like you said, Prep Pigskin preview dropping next week with high school football starting. Kids are going back to school. So NFL preseason is underway, obviously. So really, football season's around the corner. It's crazy. Every year, we always say it. It sneaks up on you. It's summertime, and then all of a sudden, boom, football season.
I'm ready for it. I am ready for it.
Yeah, you already have your sheet all written out. What Lions games, Michigan games, Michigan State games.
I haven't had a chance to get to it yet. I did my concert schedule first, but I'll get to the football one back when I'm back to reality. But I'll tell you what, fellas, let's take a little break. Have a little Tedertainment Tonight coming out right after this.
All right, I'm going to take the lead on Tedertainment Tonight. Tonight. A little bit of a weirder review. I don't know if we ever had a video game review.
Oh.
So it's been a month. I played college football at 25 for the last month. I felt like that was enough runway to really get a proper review.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I don't want to say it, but it was a dead giveaway. I got this game. I remember back in the day on Christmas, like you would get a game on PS4 or PS3. It would take all day to download. It would be like a 200 plus gigabyte file, all day to download. You're lucky to play it by Christmas night. I got this game, and it was the day it came out. I was so excited for it. I was like, man, hey, whatever. I'm probably not going to be able to play until probably tomorrow, but I just got to get it. Plug it in, fire up the PS5. Within 30 seconds, this game downloads. 29 gigabyte file. Listen, I think 29 gigabytes, like there's iPhone games that are more than 29 gigabytes. And I just dropped basically $80 on this damn game, plus the system. So let me get into the actual game. The gameplay is fun. I do like actually playing the game. In the actual game is great. But what you need to understand with college football video games, what's made them good, it's everything outside of the online games. It's the Dynasty. It's the Road to Glory. It's all that type of stuff. In this game that they've waited 10 years to release, in Road to Glory, which I never played that game mode, they got rid of the high school aspect of it where you're playing high school games for Corona High School or whoever, which was an awesome little touch. They got rid of it. In Dynasty, which I play, it's like the most superficial. It's a mirage, this game. When I first played this game for first 2 days, I was like, man, I can't stop thinking about it. It's the most fun I've ever had playing video games. Then I got over the initial buzz, and I realized this game is like, there's nothing to it. It's Groundhog Day every day with what you do in this Dynasty. Recruit for 5 minutes, play your game, win by 50, recruit for 5 minutes, play your game, win by 50, recruit for 5 minutes, play your game, win by 50. There's really nothing else to it. So I'm essentially already bored with this game. Football season hasn't even come around yet. I've waited my entire, basically, adult life for this game to come out, and it just is, it's flat. Oh, and the worst part, you know how awesome I said the gameplay was and playing people is so much fun? I have yet to be able to complete a game that it hasn't booted me from because the servers are so bad. Seriously, I can't play a game. I can't play a game. So I do this whole online Dynasty with my buddies. You build up these user matchups. Both teams are undefeated. You play first quarter, and it boots you. You can't even play the games. This 29 gigabyte game, which is so basically shallow as it is, they can't even get it right. They can't even make it so you can play it. So it's just been a big bummer the more and more I thought about it. And listen, everything in my brain wants to like this game, but it's just not good. For example, if you would have sold this game on opening day when I opened it up, and let's just say it said Madden on the front of it and not college football, I would have probably snapped the disc in two, maybe even smashed it with a hammer. It was such a bad game. But just because it has the college football on it and you get to play with Michigan and Michigan State, win the Paul Bunyan Trophy, I kind of looked over it. But after a month, it's clear. This game is a fraud. It was a bust. It was a bust. I'm willing to say that.
I've seen some similar reviews. I feel like a lot of people are saying that the gameplay, because you love college football so much, because you want to play as New Mexico State, and try and win a national title with some school like that, or play with Michigan and do that. Right. It's a great game because you get to play at the big house. Now the names are in the game and all that kind of stuff. So it is cool. And the thing that always made them the best, at least in my opinion, sounds like you too, Jared, when I played, was the online Dynasty, because you would set it up with your buddies and you would get to play. You could set it up if you had people across the country, or, you could play in a Dynasty with friends or family or whoever, wherever they're at, and play in the same season, recruit against each other, set up games, like you said, against each other. And if that whole process is a little bit of a dud or not even working correctly,
it's not.
It kind of makes it a little bit, of a bummer, because that was the best part. That's what I was looking forward to if I ended up getting it, hooking up with a couple buddies who have it too and saying, hey, let's start an online Dynasty and let's play like we're back in 2014 again or whatever. But I'm not rushing out to get it because the reviews are kind of split down the middle. Great game when you're playing it. Everything else, just all right. Probably also because I don't have a PS5 yet, so I'd have to go out and buy a PS5 and the game. So it's a little bit like, I don't know.
I knew I was in for trouble. The second I fired it up, it downloaded in the blink of an eye. I had never seen anything like that. I'd never seen anything like that. It normally will take, like, I remember Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, yeah.
That took like 2 days to download.
Right.
It just is. There's like 10 college football video games lodged into a Red Dead Redemption download.
Right.
And they had 10 years to make the game. What were they spending that time on? That's what I don't understand. On the trailer
Graphics.
and the
the
tweet
trailer
about that it's coming out. Stay tuned. I don't know if they spent actually any time developing the game.
Wow. A scathing review.
Do you have any thoughts? Like, what do you know what a gigabyte is?
You asking me?
Yeah.
I've been able to follow along. Yes.
Okay. It is, and there is some cool stuff to it, man. I mean, like, you play at Central Michigan and you get to hear them chanting "Fire up chips" and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's that is an games great. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna. It's an interesting way to look at it. The download speed, because if you're looking at one of these games, whether it's Grand Theft Auto, the Red Dead Redemption, some other games, when you put them in, it takes hours. Like sometimes you get up early, 5 a.m., pop it in, because then you're like, this is going to take 12 hours to download. So I'm just going to get it going. So it's good. The graphics are going to be good. The gameplay is going to be amazing. Everything is going to be incredible. So when you pop in college football and it downloads like that, it's not just that the technology was amazing. It's also that, man, you didn't really put a whole lot into this game, did you? So
right.
It's disappointing for sure. So again, kind of like your guys' reviews of House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, all these shows that have dud final episodes. I'm not rushing out to buy this game now.
don't lump House of the Dragon in with this. This game, House of the Dragon, they care, and they care. Maybe they don't make the right decisions all the time with the storyline. This was, I don't want to say a money grab, but I mean,
might have been.
There is so many like egregious errors in the game that it's like, did anybody like give this a second look, or did you guys just slap it together and sell it as quickly as you could? Again, we spent enough time on the video game sector. Maybe the only time we'll ever give a video game review, but other people probably love it. And there is some fun parts to the game, but they had a high bar to reach, and they have 10 years to make basically a little bit better version of Madden, and I'm not sure they even accomplished that. So just a little bit of a bummer.
Fair comment. Now, who's the company that owns it? Is it EA Sports? Is that what it is?
EA Sports. Yep.
Well, after this review, they're certainly not going to be a 3 Point podcast sponsor. That's for sure.
No, God, no.
No,
you don't want them as a sponsor. I don't care what money. Listen, you don't want it.
Fair enough. I agree. We can't get behind a product like that.
Can't get behind a product like that because, of course, all of our sponsors, it's top notch what they offer. So,
dude, I could not talk for a minute a pod about this game in positive, glowing reviews. I couldn't do it. So sorry that if that did cut off some sponsorship ops, but it ain't happening, man.
That's okay with me.
No,
how about you, Matt? What do you got on the table?
Yeah, something I watched. I watched it last night actually. I'm not sure. Well, you've been on the road, Ted, so you probably haven't seen this. The E60 on Armando Galarraga's imperfect game.
Can't wait to watch it, but yeah, lay it out. There.
I mean, you know you know the story. I don't want to give you too many spoilers because really, I don't want to spoil it for you. It's
right.
We've said it before. HBO stuff, whether it's Hard Knocks, whether it's all the shows that you guys watch that I don't watch, whether it's 30 for 30, this stuff. If it's an E60. Yeah. And it's a topic that you're interested in, it's going to be great. Best thing about E60 also, usually it's only like an hour, it's kind of like a 45-minute or hour episode. And it's always very investigative. I mean, it's just top notch. Anything E60, it's like you say, Jared, season tickets, pop it on. You're going to be entertained. And I can't say anything less about this one. It was called 28 Outs, the imperfect story. So yeah, about Armando Galarraga's imperfect game. We all know about it. Jim Joyce blew the call. Armando Galarraga should be in there, having thrown a perfect game. We don't need to dive into that, but this isn't just like, let's relive that day. You do get to relive that day. So that's kind of cool to go back and, go step by step here. Mario and Rod calling the game, see Comerica, Brandon Inge is in it. Austin Jackson is in it. Ramon Santiago is in it. Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer are in it. They're all. Jim Leland is in it. So, you get to hear all their perspective on that game.
Love it.
And just kind of like, if you're a baseball nerd, I mean, Ted, this is like right up your alley. You should watch this immediately because, they talk about the flow. Alex Avila, who was catching that game, so the catcher-pitcher relationship, they're talking about how he was calling the game. Armando Galarraga obviously was in it. He was a huge part of it. He's talking about how he felt going into that game. So just all of that stuff about the baseball game is so cool and interesting to hear. But the other side of what this E60 is makes it like even more interesting because, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but what was it? It was a law and society class at Monmouth University actually like did a breakdown of it, a law look at why Armando Galarraga, why the MLB should put him on the list as having a perfect game because they've gone back and changed other, like the George Brett situation where he got called up for pine tar. They ended up reversing that. I didn't know about this one. Maybe you did, Ted, but Harvey Haddix.
Yeah, 13 perfect game.
Right. He was in the record book for throwing a perfect game because he threw a perfect game for 9 innings. He ended up losing the game. I thought it was the 12th inning. It might have been the 13th inning, but yeah. But they ended up going back and taking him off of the perfect game list because he didn't win the game. He didn't complete the game.
Right.
So the whole point of this class, and I won't say too much, it's so interesting what they do. They go back and say like the precedent, like why the MLB has set the precedent that they can go back and reverse these things. How is Armando Galarraga not on? Jim Joyce is in it too. Jim Joyce is in it. So he talks about everything he went through. He says he should be on it. Everything. It is so good. And especially as a Tigers fan, but I can't recommend it high enough.
About how long?
Easy 3
About
out
how
of 3.
long is it?
48 minutes.
About how
45
long
minutes.
is it? Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Okay, I thought it was maybe just a short, like 10-minute.
No.
My initial thoughts on it, I haven't seen it yet. I'm actually going to watch it right after we record this. I forgot that it was out. So it sounds like an awesome class. My first thought when I saw that, I was like, this is the type of shit they make you pay $5,000 at a college, like for your education, is a class on Armando Galarraga's perfect game. But it actually does sound kind of cool. And like the teacher maybe was actually like a good teacher, and how he kind of took whatever the class was and like, let's actually make like a sports case study that a lot of the kids probably appreciated.
Yeah.
But where are you guys at with this story? Do you think is this going to be like the OJ, where it's like there almost seems to be a new, Armando Galarraga like piece of content every few years? It almost seems like.
Well,
did it reveal any new information to you, Matt, or did you feel like it was kind of just like a retread almost?
I mean, it was a retread. The big thing was the law class looking into that the MLB should be able to do this. And basically it's Bud Selig made the decision in the moment that they weren't going to reverse it. And now, Manfred, the current commissioner, is basically just saying Selig made the decision. We're not. It's kind of cool because they do talk to a ton of other players from the Indians. They were playing the Indians, now the Guardians, obviously, in that game. And it's kind of split. A lot of people said, no, they shouldn't reverse it because that was the rule at the time. There was no instant replay at the time. So it is what it is. Jim Joyce obviously is saying, no, give the kid the perfect game. Like, I blew this call. I'm admitting, so it's kind of split. Jim Leland, honestly, he said, no, it shouldn't be reversed.
I'm that's my belief too. I don't think it should be. Yeah. It is what it is at this point. This is obviously obvious. I feel like both those guys, even Jim Joyce is basically almost benefited from this event happening. Armando Galarraga, he's got a documentary E60 about him now. I don't think that happens just with a perfect game, which is crazy because perfect games are awesome. Maybe it still would. The one villain who I think is kind of the unsung villain in that whole story, and it never is talked about, the guy who hit that final ball and is sprinting down first base line like it's the bottom of the 9th inning in the World Series Game 7. I cannot stand that guy. Why are you running out that out? It wasn't like it was a liner that they made a miraculous. It was like a little soft ground ball. This guy's running like the wind, and it makes it a tough call on Jim Joyce. In my opinion, I don't care if it's a divisional game or whatever. It's a random game. You hit a shitty little drubber off the end of your bat, trot down first base line, make sure they get that out. I mean, what are we kidding? Is that just me, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a terrible take. That's a terrible take. I mean, when you're the opposing team, you're trying to break up that no-hitter, that perfect game.
Not in that fashion. Not in that fashion. That's not how you break it.
Absolutely. You're nuts.
It's the integrity of the game, Jared. You can't do that. And actually that guy is in the documentary too, talking about it. Jason Donald.
And Jim Joyce calls him out or calls him safe. And the guy immediately is like, oh shoot. Like, damn it. Why? I wish he didn't do that. He knew it. He was like, what the F am I doing? What am I doing? Again, I'm probably alone in that. I get the whole baseball purity, but who are we kidding? Seriously? Just trot it out, man.
Wow. That's that one I cannot get behind at all. I will say this. I'm on board 100% of, the rules were the rules at the time. You can't give him a perfect game, but it's a standalone. It's a standalone 28 out perfect game. I think he has that place in history locked up, and it's not a bad spot to be. Right. If it was a perfect game, it'll be in the record books that he threw a perfect game, but he'd be mixed in there with whatever 20 or 30 other players that have done it. It wouldn't be a big deal that it is now for Galarraga. It's just a cool thing. I do have one question, maybe without ruining it. Leland did come out to argue, and it wasn't very long argument. Did Joyce, and this typically happens with umpires when they blow calls. I don't know if he says it in here. Did Joyce just flat out say, hey, Jim, I blew it. I can't overturn it now? Was there anything along those lines?
There was. So I don't know if I want to blow it for you. I don't want to like give it away.
That's my thought process. That Joyce told Leland, "Hey Jim, look, I blew the call, but there's nothing I
don't
can
know
do
if he
about it."
did.
That's just my.
I don't think Leland came out too hot because he didn't know for sure whether he got it right or wrong.
Okay.
I think it was actually, and I haven't seen it, and don't comment yes or no, Matt, to spoil it, but I thought it was Gerald Laird was like the bullpen or was the backup catcher,
Right.
saw it in the clubhouse, saw the replay, ran out and said, like, you fucked that up. And that's when it kind of got crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to blow too much for you. So I'll say it's super interesting how it all played out. So can't recommend it high enough.
We'll definitely check it out. Jared, on a side note with Leland, I haven't seen the special, but you were part of the special that was put out about Leland Cooperstown, weren't you, with Valley Sports?
Yeah, so it aired on Friday night for the first time. I just saw they tweeted out a bunch of different times it's going to be airing. I've been basically in the Leland foxhole for like a month working on everything about that guy. And there's nobody I'd rather do that for. We talked all about him 2 pods ago, how much I love him as a manager. Going through his whole archival deep dive of all of his rants in the locker room, all the times he's been ejected at, going after umpires. It was kind of cool seeing some of that footage, and putting it together was fun too. So yes.
Great. Can't wait to watch that one. I just got one thing here on Tedertainment. It's kind of a Tedertainment flashback. This week is 55-year anniversary of Woodstock, and I'm that boomer here on the podcast. Woodstock was the ultimate concert back in 1969 in upstate New York. But for Tedertainment Tonight, I don't know if either one of you guys ever saw the classic documentary on Woodstock, but if you haven't, I highly recommend you get a chance to just spend some time watching it and give me your thoughts somewhere down the line, because the documentarians covered it perfectly. It definitely took you back in time to 1969 and what it was really like with groups like Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, all the other classic rock groups that were there and participated. It was well worth the Academy Award it won for best documentary that year. And how I like my docs, but celebrating 55 years, 3 thumbs up for Woodstock the movie.
Where can you watch that right now?
I'm not sure what streaming service, but I'm sure if you Google it, you can find it somewhere. Yeah, but I watched it on Turner Classic. It was on Turner Classic before I saw it. Yeah.
Was that a big deal in the time, Woodstock? Or how old were you at that time?
I was, 16. I was like 13 years old. Yeah.
Do you remember it being like, man, goddamn, I can't believe I missed out on that.
Yeah. I was a little too young, obviously,
right.
But it was headline news. It was on the CBS News. The whole big story was so many people getting to Woodstock. I mean, it was like, I don't remember, 300,000 or 400,000 young people congregating, tying up all the roads getting there. Right. It was supposed to be a paid concert, and I think it was like, there are ticket stubs out there where it's like $10 for the whole 3-day festival, and they knocked down the fences and it became free. It was a free for all. But the cool thing about that one compared to 99, the one in 69 was totally peaceful, with so many people, but there was no shenanigans, and it was just pulled off. The people that put it on didn't make any money, obviously, but it was an epic, iconic get together, and was really one of those historical moments in the world of history that will never happen again. I mean, it was just really unbelievable what they pulled together.
Because then the one in 99, I have watched a documentary on the one in 99, because again, I was about 13 when that one happened. I was a little, like 14, 15. So similar with you, obviously very too young to go, but I remember all the bands that were there and hearing about it on MTV and seeing clips of it and all that kind of stuff. But it got out of control. I mean, obviously there were drugs at the original Woodstock, but it was mostly peaceful. The one in 99, I mean, it just turned into a lot of fights, the alcohol, and just everything. It got out of control. Yeah. And I feel like even some of the bands even said like they didn't feel safe. They just didn't feel safe at the one in 99. So it's kind of a shame.
It was evil. Evil was present in 99. There's really no other way to describe it. It doesn't help when you got like Slipknot enticing the crowd. Like those, I don't know what it was at 69. What was like Jimi Hendrix, was Bob Marley there? Maybe I have no idea. But but then you got Slipknot and these other 1990s grunge bands. It's going to be a little bit of an atmosphere for those 3 days.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I wasn't there in 99. I wish I'd have been there in 69, but oh well, the documentary is there for you guys to watch. All right, guys, let's call it a podcast. And again, we're looking forward to putting together our 3-point podcast pigskin preview. It's our 7th annual. We've already got responses from pretty much everybody that covers the state of Michigan and high school football. So we're looking forward to putting that all together. Actually, more Matt than anybody else to put this thing together, but we look forward to listening to it. Thanks to the Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center, the Orthopedic Walk-In Clinic is now open Monday through Fridays, 8 to noon, no appointment needed. Headed by PAs Tara Rakoski and Michael Smith, the clinic is designed for those unexpected moments when injuries strike. Details at memorialhealthcare.org. Also, thanks to our partners, ALS of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Detroit Jerky, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and the Shiawassee County Fair. Don't forget to go check out the boys of Chi-Town. They're playing in the Thursday night series at Milford, August 22nd. Go check them out. And again, as always, peace and love, everybody. Be kind, and thanks for listening.